But yeah, from my perspective, the Jedi are evil. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Comically Boston bonus episode. Today we are breaking down episode 7 of the Acolyte, the penultimate episode. I believe we only have one left. And this episode 7 was titled Choice. And this is, as I predicted, the flashback episode where we get to see the bitter truth that is revealed in this episode that flashes back to when the twins were kids and back to that episode 3 flashback. And it's very, very interesting the way that they shoot this, because episode 3 gave us one perspective, the twins' perspective with the witches and everything. But now we get to see what the Jedi saw of all that happening and why they intervened and came in to get the twins. So it's a very, very interesting episode. I just wish I didn't completely see it coming. But I love the poster here of the moon about to be eclipsed in the two twins, and you see Kalnaka and Basil and the mother and Vanestra Rowe over there with her whip lightsaber. But the title of this episode, Choice, in just the picture of Kalnaka, it was a 43-minute episode, and the little just brief description they left was, "A bitter truth is revealed." So immediately, just seeing the title and that description, I was like, oh, this is the flashback episode. And then the previously on shows episode 3 of the young girls and what Kalnaka did. And I called this. I really did. I called it, multiple episodes ago. And I said that this might be episode 7. And I certainly hope it's not going to be the finale episode. So here I was, right, that it was episode 7. Previously on from last episode, May was strapped to a table in Soul's ship, and he's been waiting to tell her and been thinking about what he wanted to tell her about what happened on Brendok 16 years ago ever since. So this whole episode might just be what Soul wanted to tell May, and he could have been telling her this whole time, but we never see the present day. This is an entire flashback episode again, where there's no connection to the present other than, filling in the pieces of the flashback. And we don't get to see Osha after she put on that Cortosis helmet and kind of Darth Vader vibes, you know what I mean? So, I don't know, but we open back up on Brendok 16 years earlier. Young Soul is scanning the ground, collecting samples. Indara and Kalnaka are also there. Young Torben's there. He has no scar on his face. And then they go back and they're talking, and Torben's kind of upset and pissy, and he's like, why are we here? I want to go back to Coruscant. And Kalnaka's cooking, and he goes, I'm not hungry. And Dara goes, it is unwise to insult a Wookiee's cooking. He wants to know what they're doing on this planet, and Soul tells them he is looking for a vergence, a concentration of force energy centered around a location. A vergence could create life, Soul says. And that's why they're on Brendok, and they want to protect this power, study it, and even just the way he says it and the way that the Jedi operate. The more and the more I see Jedi doing stuff, like even this past Jedi, all the way up to like Obi-Wan, Mace Windu era of Jedi, every time, I used to be all Jedi, fuck the dark side, but now the more and more that I watch these Star Wars things, the Jedi seem so sus to me, and they're just like, ooh, they're, especially this old Jedi in the Acolyte, they've been operating super sus. Almost like there's a Palpatine controlling behind the scenes already, just even more hidden than Palpatine was, because Palpatine wasn't very hidden. He was the Chancellor and a Senator. I feel like this is more like a Sith pulling the strings, like a puppeteer in the background. Speaking of which, do you like that shirt? That Cortosis helmet with the smile shirt? And it says, peace is a lie, there is only passion. Ooh, I like it. But yeah, from my perspective, the Jedi are evil. That's how I've been feeling a lot lately watching this shit. But Indara has a Padawan, that being Torben, and Soul does not at this point. So Osha must have been his first, and Jeki was his second. So technically, in present day, Soul's 0 for 2 on the whole Padawan thing. I don't know if he'll ever go for a third, or even get the chance. By the way, this season ends, who knows? But I'm thinking episode 8 is going to be coming to a serious blows between Osha and May and Sol and Chimere and Vanestra Rose somehow in there, because you can't have that lightsaber whip just kill a bug and never be shown again, right? Like, we're gonna have to see her again at some point, right? So the Jedi split up to look for the Virgins and cover more ground, and Sol stumbles across the little girls. The same start of the episode we saw in episode 3, where May's at the tree, and Osha's like keeps running away from May to get some alone time, and she likes to like feel the force with the creatures, and May likes to hold them and not let them breathe and almost kill them, and Osha doesn't like this, but Sol sees this, so immediately he's like concerned. He's like, wait, whoa, force sensitive children that aren't Jedi children? This is impossible. And then he sees them, he follows them, and the girls say that classic line from that episode, "You're with me, and I'm with you, always one, but born as two. As above sits the stars, and below lies the sea. I give you you, and you give me me." Ooh, just like, it sounds like a fucking creepy little spell. Ooh. But as they're saying this, it's when Coral goes, "What are you doing out here? Come on." And so Sol, we see like that whole thing that we saw from a different angle, we see now from the backside, from Sol's perspective, hiding behind a tree. You know, like, I'm super into it. I really am, because it's like so interesting. Like seeing this whole flashback from this angle, right? Because we know what's going to happen, right? Because we've seen the episode 3, but now we're seeing it from just a completely different angle, right? We saw it from this angle, but now we're seeing it from like over to here in a completely different angle. So it's interesting to see what the Jedi thought were going on, because we know it was just the kids and the mother was learning and trying to teach these girls the witch cult shit. We still don't know if it was a good witch cult or a bad witch cult necessarily, but we know that the Jedi don't think nothing good's happening here. But then after Coral takes them back, the intro cuts real quick. Nothing really happening with that intro. Honestly, they could have made a better intro. You know, more than just like a little title card, some music or something. So after the intro, we see Mother Coral bring them back to their hideout and take like a little elevator down to wherever they went. And Sol kind of tries to fight with the panel, can't get it to work, so he climbs the walls. It's like, you know, steep little rock climb, but he does it anyways. And once he gets up to where he goes, he sees Mother Anastasia push down the girls and make them block together, right? So that happened in episode 3. So we're just seeing it from Sol's perspective. He's like on this metal catwalk, if you would. He's like looking down and seeing what's happening. And then it's kind of this super eerie shot. As Sol backs away on the metal grate, it creaks, and all of them turn and hear the creak at once. And seeing it from this perspective was so creepy. And then I like was thinking to myself, I was like, did that creak happen in episode 3? And it did. I went back and watched episode 3, and they hear a noise, and Mother Anastasia looks at Coral to go check it out, and Coral stands up and walks over and kind of like is like, what was that noise? And sees nothing in episode 3. But now we know that it was Sol seeing everything and creeping away, which is just like, I was like, oh, that's a super cool detail. Like, I don't know if anyone picked that up in episode 3, like, oh, this must have been a creak of Sol, right? Like, we would have had no idea to know, but this is so cool that, like, just a little detail that they added in this just to, like, connect it even more so to that episode, and to show us that, like, hey, they were planning this flashback episode the whole time. This wasn't just, like, a mistake and, like, oh, we'll flashback towards the end of the season. Like, this was intentional, for sure. But Sol goes back to his ship and talks to the Jedi, and he says, the witches are preparing for a ceremony. I fear for the little girls' lives. And insists Indara comes back to see it for herself. And she goes back, and they're all standing at the little service elevator, and she wants to go in herself. And but Sol's like, no, I must go with you. And they all go in as a unit, and we see the other side of the Jedi walking in. And from episode 3, we all thought like, oh, the Jedi just showed up. Little did we know they like broke into this, you know, like, and it's like, what? They broke in and Kanaka like spliced a little panel so that they could get in there? Like, all right. Like, but we get to see the other side of this interaction with the Jedi and the witches. Because in episode 3, we only got to see Torben, you know, with the black eyes, and he gets his mind taken over. But now we get to see what happened to Torben, and we get to see what's happening in his mind. And in his mind, he's standing in that same place they're standing, but it's a completely empty room. And Mother Anastasia is just walking around like, you know, Torben, I would let you go back to Coruscant. I wouldn't force you here. Ask me. And it's so creepy and witch-like. She's just like poofing in and out of like, not like poofing like magic, but like, it's just like, she looks like she's on one side of the screen, and then she comes walking over this side of the screen and disappears, and this side, and then behind him, and then over the other shoulder, and then in front of him. And it's like so super creepy the way they shot it, but so cool. And then she goes, I know you want to return to Coruscant. Say it. Ask me. And he goes, I want to return to Coruscant. And she goes, kneel. And that's when we see him kneel in his mind, and it makes his body kneel in real life, and his eyes go black. And she's like, you should leave, or and if you leave, your Padawan will be unharmed. And you know, and Osha speaks up and goes, I want to be a Jedi. And she's like, oh, shut up, I just had this handled, but now you're making them... You know, like, if the girls stayed quiet, I think the Jedi would have left in fear, and these girls would have stayed with the Coven, and the ceremony would have been complete instead of half complete, because technically only May has the dark magic ring on her forehead. And I don't know what Mother Anastasia did to Torben's brain, but it didn't look fun, and I certainly don't want it to happen to me. But the Jedi go back to their ship. Sol feels a connection to Osha, wants her to be his Padawan. And then we cut to the Jedi testing the kids like they did in episode 3. And May bullshits her test, and it's like very clear that she's just trying to fail on purpose. And Indara asks, what were the witches doing last night? And May says, Ascension. She goes, what's Ascension? Is Ascension where you got your marking? It's very pretty. Do you like it? And she's like, yes. And she goes, Ascension is what Mama said, me and Osha will become the leaders of the Covenant. She's like, you're children. What do you mean leaders? And she goes, Mama said, everyone must walk through fear. Everyone must be sacrificed to fulfill their destiny. And Dara's like, okay, thank you. Like we're all sitting there like, what the fuck? And then we get to see Osha's side of things, and we already saw most of Osha's, but I just thought it was interesting because we never got to see any part of what May said in her test. So now we know that what May said makes the Jedi even more suspicious of this Jedi, or this witch cult. And then, you know, Osha goes back, they both go back, and Dara goes, I will ask the council what to do. And she comes back and goes, the council said no. And Torben's like, but there's something dangerous about those women, damn well knowing that this woman just took over his brain and he had no control of it. And then Torben goes, are they going to let us come home? She goes, no. And so he's pissed. And then the little device he has comes back. The blood sample tests have come back. And he goes, the M count is very high in their blood sample. But they are exactly the same. No variations, right? They are exactly the same, right? Even in identical twins, there would be some type of little variation. So that we find out that these twins are made from a virgins, and they are one consciousness with two bodies, which is just like, huh? How does this even work? But then Torben sees Osha and May as a proof of the virgins, and that's how they will get home, right? Is to find proof of this virgins is why they're here, and all he wants is to go home. He wants to get away from these witches. He doesn't want his mind to be controlled. So, you know, and that's probably why he was meditating for all those years before May came and killed him, because he was trying to fortify his mind for all those years just hovering and meditating. So Torben takes off to go collect the twins as a virgin's proof, but Sol follows. Then it's intercut with Osha telling her mother that she wants to be a Jedi and that she loves her. So we realize that this is the last conversation Osha has with her mother, is she's like, I want to be a Jedi, Mom. I love you. And she's like, okay, I'll think about it, honey. And then we see that whole conversation happened because May gets taken out of the room from Coral. We get to see what Coral said to May, which she kind of bullies her a little bit. He like pushes her and goes, the Jedi won't warn you when they're about to attack, and like swings her staff at her, and May blocks it all by herself, and she goes, good girl, get mad. Then she yells at all her witches, witches, arm yourselves. And then the witches of the Coven say to Mother Anastasia, you're our leader. You're also their mother, but you're also our leader. And she goes, right now I choose mother. Right? So Mother Anastasia was like gonna do the right thing, but now the Jedi are coming back and it's, we don't know what's gonna happen. But we see what happened back in episode 3. May locks Osha in her room, starts the fire again, and then Mother Anastasia says to Coral, I told you no violence, and I told you I would die before I let the Jedi take my children. Ooh. Sol asks how the twins were created, and he goes, we have noble intentions. We're just trying to do the right thing for those children. And she goes, someday those noble intentions you all have are gonna get every Jedi in the galaxy destroyed. Oof. And she's not wrong. All these noble intentions are what gonna get the Jedi fucking destroyed. So after Mother Anastasia tells Sol that all the Jedi will be destroyed because of their noble intentions, one of the twins runs out and yells, Mama! And Torben draws a lightsaber, and Coral brings her staff at the ready. And then Mother Anastasia turns into like a smoke being, like just kind of, and then like, she just like dissipates into smoke. We're all like, what the fuck is this? I've never seen no shit like this in Star Wars. What the fuck? Like that shit threw me for a loop. I was like, what the fuck just happened? And so she turns into smoke, and Sol reacts, lights his lightsaber, and kind of stabs where Mother Anastasia was standing, but he kind of stabs nothing because her body's not there because it's smoke. But as he stabs where she was standing, all the smoke comes back, and she comes back to her body, and then leans over to him and goes, I was going to let Osha go. That's all she wants. She chose you. She wants to be a Jedi, you know, and you're like, oh, fuck, no, my heart, my chest. Mother Anastasia was actually going to be a mother, but then, like, what was that whole smoke creature thing? I don't know, that was scary for a second, but then she was like, oh, I'm going to be a good mom. Like, I don't know if I can trust you, Mother Anastasia. And we didn't know at first which of the twins ran out and said mama and watched Mother Anastasia get stabbed and killed, and we find out that it was May. And Coral then yells at May, run! And then starts just punching Sol and kicking Sol over and over again, but he won't draw the lightsaber. He's just letting her punch him and beat him. And she goes, fight me! And like the way she yelled it, oh god, every time Mother Coral yelled in this episode cracked me up. I really can't understate that enough. Oh, I love that character so much. And she's got like Darth Maul horns, so she's all like frightening looking, and she's like, fight me! Fight me! She cracked me up. But as she's kicking and beating up Sol, we see Torben display some impressive lightsaber skills and twirls like Anakin, and yeah, it looks really cool. And then a big explosion happens from the fire that May lit. And Sol goes, the twins are locked inside! And Coral turns into the smoke creature, much like Mother Anastasia just did. And she turns into smoke and disappears. And then all of the witches that were shooting at Torben, they all disappear too. And we're all like, uh-oh, where the fuck did these fuckers just go? And Torben's like, uh-oh, it's happening again, it's happening again. He goes, my mind is fortified. And we just hear like, it's not you should worry about. And it's like, uh-oh, Kelnaka's the one that they took over his mind. And honestly, there was only this one shot from the trailer of him, like, of Kelnaka not being himself and swinging at Torben, and we were like, oh fuck, his mind, like, just from that one little 2-second clip, we all theorized that this was gonna happen. So if they don't put that clip of Kelnaka swinging the lightsaber in the promotions, this whole part would have been a surprise, and that would have been awesome. It's still so much awesomeness going on here, but it could have been a surprise, which would have made it even better. You know what I mean? So just, you know, Lucasfilm, you know, watch what you're putting out in your previews. Don't marvel it up. Don't put too much out there and fuck over the project. So we see Kelnaka's mind get taken over, and he starts beating up Sol and Torben. And Sol disarms Kelnaka and kind of starts beating him up hand-to-hand style. But we see Sol be very acrobatic. And that shot looks really good as he jumps over Kelnaka's swing and then delights his lightsaber and punches him in the face with it. Like, And shout out Lee Jong Jae, I think is his name, Lee Sung Jae. He's doing a great job as Soul, and that you could see like his face doing that, so it must have been wire work and slow motion type stuff, but still looked really good. So shout out to the cast and the crew and the visual effects people, because you guys have been killing it all season. And that smoke monster looked really good, and like the way that they turn into smoke out of nowhere. I still don't understand what's happening, but it looks really cool. So Indara ends up flying in, and throughout this whole process of like Kelnaka's mind being taken over, we start seeing cut shots of the witches in the coven, and not Coral or Mother Anastasia, but the rest of the witches, and they're kind of, you know, the power of one, the power of two, the power of many, right? So they're using the collective power of many of them to control this Jedi's mind. So it's not just Mother Coral being like, I want to control his mind, me, right? So Mother Anastasia could do it to Torben, but the rest of the coven can do it to Kelnaka, is how I'm taking this at least. But we see Indara heal Kelnaka's mind, and as she does it, she kind of wipes out every one of the witches in the coven out of his mind, and they all kind of collapse to lifelessness. But it like, was that in their minds as well, or is that just them getting out of Kelnaka's mind, or is that Indara killing all of them by doing this? Maybe, I don't know, but here's the clip.
Get the twins.
Oh, and we see Kelnaka's eyes come back from like just black to like his actual eyeballs, and I was like, oh shit, I don't know if I even remember seeing Chewie's actual eyes, but it looks so weird when they're black, you know, so like you maybe just don't notice his eyes. But Kelnaka's eyes here, and just hearing him like, you know, like I love Wookiees so much. They're so cute, cuddly. I just want to give them a big squeeze. But we hear Indara at the end of that go, get the twins. And then we cut back to Soul going to get the twins, and we see the two twins standing on that bridge, and then May fell, and we find out that it was actually Soul was trying to save them both, and then realized that he wasn't going to be strong enough to hold both of them, so he lets May drop. So it's actually Soul's decision to let May drop, and then holds Osha, and then fails at holding Osha, and then we see him jump and grab her, and then we see the bodies on the ground and stuff like that, like we saw in episode 3. But what we don't see here is where May falls and who saved her, because we know she's alive. So we don't know what happens to her from in the in-between 16 years, like who raised her, who taught her this. I'm guessing it's Chimere, but at the same time, like, she just fell and all the rest of her family's dead, and like the place was burning, so she should be dead, but she's like alive, so what's the deal there? But we also don't really know what happens to Osha through this 16 years. We just know that at some point she leaves the Jedi Order and clearly kind of wants to come back and be Soul's apprentice again. But he had already took a Jecki, she had feelings for Jecki, Jecki died, you know, like it's messy. Messy beaucoup. But then we cut back to Soul and the Jedi on the ship with Osha, and Indara's like, well, tell them the truth, talking about what they're going to say to the Jedi Council. We'll tell them the truth. May burned down the temple and all was lost. And that's not exactly the truth. And Torben's like, oh, come on. And Soul's like, I must face the council, tell them the real truth. And Indara's like, after all that girl's been through, losing her family, losing her twin sister, and all she wants to do is be a Jedi, you're going to take this dream from her too? And then Osha starts to wake up, and we see Soul run over to her, and she's like, what happened? And we see the very first time that Osha's asked him what happened. He had the opportunity to tell her the truth, and instead he lied to her. And yeah, and we pretty much saw that lie in episode 3, and that's when the credits roll, and I'm like, oh man, Soul, you fucked it from the beginning. But as the credits roll, we get a song that's saying Twin Flame, and it's called The Power of Two, and it's a fucking banger from Victoria Monet. And I saw some people being like, oh, the song in the credits made it even worse. What are you morons talking about? You're trying to find any reason and any little thing you can nitpick and hate about this show. You guys are losers. Do you know, like, that you're a loser if you hate this show for no reason? Like, people are making up excuses to hate this show. In one of this banger song is now they hate it because of this song. What the hell are you talking about? One, the song from Victoria Monet was a banger, and in fact is a great song, and it will now be on my playlist forever. So I'm guessing that whole episode, though, was just a flashback of what Soul would have told May the 16 years that he's been thinking about what he wanted to tell her, right? Because that's what he said at the end of last episode. But we never, like, I thought for sure we were going to cut to the end of this episode the same way he had Osha strapped to the table and healing on the ship. He has May strapped to the table on the ship, and he could have cut back just at the end there and just been like, and that's what really happened. And then the credits, right? Like, and then we would have been like, oh, okay, so this whole flashback was what Soul was telling her what happened, and he told May the whole truth and nothing but the truth. You know what I mean? But just a little missed opportunity at the end. Maybe that will be the start of next episode. Who knows? But I know for sure next episode, I am looking forward to seeing these two sexy little beasts back, Amanda Stenberg and Manny Jacinto. I think I said that right. But Osha and Chimere, the Stranger, the Sith, or whatever we're going to call him, I want to find out who he really is, what's going on with him. Will Osha actually kill him, or will she be his new Padawan? But I have a real feeling this next week's episode is going to be Chimere and Osha and May, and it's going to be maybe them versus the Sith, or something's going to go down. Or it'll just be like a big long tease to tease that there's going to be a season 2 of The Acolyte. And this is going to make a bunch of people mad. It'll make me really happy and real Star Wars fans happy. And then there's these bullshit fans out there that's like, oh, I hate the show. Have you watched it? No, I don't watch Disney Star Wars. But I love The Mandalorian. They're so retarded. Every one of those boomers and everybody, they seem to be from a generation that just, oh, things can't change. I just like the 6 movies. I didn't even watch the new 3 movies. Why not? Because you're a pussy? Like, watch the movies, watch everything, and then decide afterwards whether you liked it or not. It's not a crime to not like something. What's a crime to me is saying you don't like something and not even giving it a chance. Or then the people that, oh, I tried it, I didn't like it. What'd you do? I watched 3 minutes of it and I didn't like it. What? What kind of bullshit try is that? Like, oh, it didn't hook me. Go fuck yourself. You're not going to get hooked if you're not going to let it give you a chance to hook. You're not even in there fishing, looking for a bite. You're just like, oh, I turned it on, I hate it already, turned it off. You're morons. But enough of you morons. What happened to Osha after she put on this Cortosis helmet and she had those Darth Vader vibes? That's how last episode ended, and I'm assuming that's how episode 8 will begin. But just look at that creepy smile and the cracks in the helmet and the 2 little slits, and we get to see the inside of that. It's 2 little slits, you can barely see anything, but she's honing in her force. And if I'm gonna guess and just make a prediction on how next episode starts, I'm guessing she's gonna be wearing this helmet, and she's going to be attacked by Chimere, and she's going to have to use the sensory deprivation helmet to use the Force again and attack Chimere back, and he's going to be like, see, you never lost your skills. They never went anywhere, and you haven't been practicing them, but here you are using the Force and taking down a powerful Sith that you just watched wipe out an entire group of Jedi. So, I don't know. I don't know. Will Soul end up dying like predicted at the beginning of the season? Will Osha or May end up killing him barehandedly like Chimere snapped Yord's neck? Maybe Soul's gonna get his neck snapped. Maybe Chimere gets his neck snapped. I don't know, but I need the answers to these questions next week. Stay tuned for episode 8 breakdown coming next week. Thank you guys for watching. If you're House of the Dragon fans, go check out that breakdown the other day. Comically Boston podcast every week. We're going to be breaking down weekly nerdy news and what's going on in the world. Stay tuned for the rest of this week. More videos coming. I promise more movie reviews. Comment below if you'd like to see me do a trailer reaction to the Agatha All Along trailer, or the Gladiator 2 trailer, or even another trailer for the movie that came out today called We Live in Time with Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield, a R-rated rom-com. That I'm gonna love. But comment below if you have any recommendations for me. You can message me on my Comically Boston email, comicallyboston@gmail.com. You can message me on my other social medias, link down in the description below. If you've made it this far in the video, please like the video, subscribe if you're new, hit that bell so you don't miss future videos. It really supports the channel. Hit that share link button, you know, do it all, share it with your friends, talk about it. If you want to talk more Acolyte with me, comment below, and I will see you beautiful people in the next video. Peace.